Hi guys, welcome and thank you for joining me today. We've talked a bit about vulnerability, and in the past, some of the past videos I've mentioned boundaries and walls, and today we're going to get into a little bit of explaining and dissecting what boundaries are and how to keep boundaries from becoming walls. So first off, I want to focus on what a wall is. And a wall is something that somebody puts in place to keep somebody out of an area of their life. This might look like silent treatment, where there was an argument or something between two people, and one person puts up the wall of just leaving the other person in silence, the cold shoulder. It's not a boundary, it's a wall, because it tears down and breaks apart a relationship. Whereas a boundary can help build and strengthen and deepen a relationship. So another way that a wall can look is if somebody just has frustration and constant angst against somebody else, or maybe there's just a constant tearing down of somebody else, constant criticalness. This is a wall. This is somebody saying, stay away from this area of my life. Just stay away. Don't even come by. It's like some of those post-apocalyptic movies that have cities circled around by a big wall, and the military leadership of that city has a rule that don't go outside the wall. Well, this is the same type of situation. Don't come near the wall, and don't cross the wall. Don't break the wall. Don't get past the wall. Whatever you do, do not go into the area that you're not allowed. And as I mentioned before, walls can be like forest fires. They can decimate areas and relationships. They can decimate interactions between people. And if enough interactions between people get decimated, those interactions then start shaping the rest of the relationship. And that relationship eventually just goes downhill. Eventually, it's like sticking a piece of dynamite in a sand hill. You can see the sand dune behind me. There wouldn't be a lot left of it after the dynamite went off. Whereas boundaries are not something that someone places on somebody else. So a boundary is not something that I would place on another person I have a problem with. A boundary is something I place on myself. A boundary is a limit that I set on myself, that I say, okay, I'm not going to go past this because I value myself, because I love myself in a healthy self-love, and because I value our relationship. Also, I put boundaries in place, limits on myself, because I value the other person or other people in this relationship. So a boundary looks more like I have thought about a situation ahead of time. I'm not worrying about it, trying to come up with what could happen, but I'm thinking about different possibilities, and I'm having an answer, before the time, or at least, a rough estimate or guess of what I could do if a situation like, XYZ comes into play or comes up. So it might look like me having just slipped there in the sand. Sand gave way. So it might look like me choosing to meet with a friend and say we're going to get coffee, and then we're going to go for a walk. With this friend, I can state, I'll be happy to hang out with you for an hour. And that's a limit I set on myself. Because if you'll notice, I haven't told my friend, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I haven't just ignored my friend and, agreed without setting any sort of expectation to just whatever time might be available. So I've set a limit on myself. I'll hang out with you for an hour. And in that hour, if we get coffee, great. If we go for the walk, great. I've given myself for that hour. But now when I have to enact this boundary is not to undermine, it's not to frustrate or cause a situation where the other person can get angry. This is a boundary, a limit I set on myself to maintain peace and to maintain the peace of our relationship. Because how many of you have ever been in a situation where you say, okay, yeah, I'll come over, but I gotta leave at, say, 7 o'clock. And 7:30 rolls around and you're getting frustrated, and then 8 o'clock rolls around and you're like, man, I gotta leave now. I can't stay. And at that point, if I were the one that had to leave, I would be frustrated. I would be feeling a little bit angry, and I would be a little worried about, okay, I spent a lot more time here than I said I would, and now I've still got my whole list of other things to do, and I've got an hour less time to do them in now. Whereas if I set the boundary and stick to it, like I'm saying, enact the boundary, then I'm able to maintain peace, and I don't get frustrated, and I don't get angry, and more likely than not, the person I've spent the time with also notices. And they notice that I'm happy when I leave instead of frustrated. And when interactions like this take place over a long period of time, or just several consistent interactions, that relationship starts taking on a mutual respect, a mutual understanding of what each person in the relationship is able to give, willing to give, or is going to commit to. And this provides a sense of security, not only for the person who has set the boundary or set the limit on themselves, but also for the person who is on the other side of the relationship. It allows both parties to know, to a degree, what to expect. And another way a boundary might look is, I might say to my spouse, I'm happy and I'm willing to talk about this touchy subject with you, as long as we can keep it respectful. As long as I keep it respectful, and as long as you keep it respectful. It's a mutual respect there. But it's not saying, I will do this if you do that. It's, I'm bringing this to the table. I'm bringing respect to the table. And I will stay at the table, continually bringing my respect with me and placing it out in front of me, as long as you're able to meet me with respect as well. Now, this might look like, in the past, maybe my spouse and I have had an argument over this topic, and maybe my spouse has lit into me a little bit with anger and accusatory language and blaming, and that's disrespectful. And for me to participate in that is to disrespect myself, and to participate in disrespect is also unloving to myself and detrimental to the relationship. So if it starts getting disrespectful because of the other person, I can say, whoa, I'm starting to feel disrespected here. I'll be happy to stay in this conversation as long as it stays respectful. And with that, I've just enacted my boundary and given the other person good information and freedom to make a choice on. Now the other person knows that, whoa, what I'm doing is coming across as disrespectful to this guy. Then it gives them the opportunity to think, okay, what am I doing and how can I change it? And because I've just given them good information about what I'm feeling inside, it gives them the freedom to choose whether they're going to change or whether they're going to continue to disrespect me. And if they continue to disrespect me, well, then I follow through on my boundary and I leave the conversation. Not in an angry and not in a stonewalling fashion, but in a way that says, hey, I'm feeling disrespected. I need a little bit of time. I'll be happy to have this conversation with you or pick up where we left off, as long as it can stay respectful. And this only works as long as I maintain the boundary on myself and the limit on myself, and couple that with continually bringing my own respect to the conversation. Because if I don't bring my own respect to the conversation, then I'm holding the other person to a standard that I'm not holding myself to. And that is very hypocritical and will also tear down a relationship. So there's a little bit of information between what is a wall, what is a boundary, and how to effectively use a boundary. Once again, and I can't stress this enough, a boundary is a limit that I set on myself to maintain my peace in the relationship. And when used correctly, it will promote peace in the entire, everybody participating in that relationship. So there's going to be a few questions to follow. Thank you for joining me today, and go out and live fulfilled. Figure out what a healthy boundary you need to set is, and set it and stick to it. Once again, it's not something that we get to make anybody else do anything, but it's a limit I set on myself. It's something where I decide how much of something I'm going to do, or how far I'm going to let a disagreement go. And ultimately, it comes down to having a healthy self-love and some kindness and grace and mercy for the other person, as well as quite a bit of toughness, just sticking to what you say. And even if you get some flack for it, you stick to what you say. And somebody who sticks to what they say, they become trustworthy. They become people, or a person that other people can count on. And people that can be counted on, people that can be considered trustworthy, you got a good step towards a lot of healthy relationships with that. So thanks for watching. Check out the questions afterward. Put some time into it. Consider where you are and where you want to be, and put the work in to get there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here again.